Does the entire population on the planet consist just of 16 types of people? Yes and no. In this video, we're going to discuss cognitive functions, which are part of all personalities to some degree, at least according to the 8-function model, which is basically the next level of MBTI. Hello and welcome to this channel. Make sure to subscribe if you like what I'm doing here. Clicking the like button will be much appreciated. Thank you. Also, let me know in the comments if you have questions. Now on to the topic. On this channel, I have been working with a lot of stereotype stuff, and this is partly due to the fact that I enjoy experiments when it comes to narrative, since so this channel will be doing a lot of shape shifting in the future. The second reason is that I'm not sure who my audience is at this point. Anyhow, before we get into detail, here's the little summary. Cognitive functions are mental processes that are part of how the human psyche operates. The first function is the one you use most. The second function supports the first function. The third and fourth functions are usually much less developed than the first two. And the last four functions are also called shadow functions, and they are the ones we are not aware of, and we can project them onto other people. The general goal here is to integrate all functions to become a psychologically more developed human being. So, while the 16 personalities theory is dividing people into types, the cognitive functions model is more internal and holistic. Just a side note, while the 8 functions are being displayed as a list here, there is of course no such linear order when it comes to how people use them. When you take a personality test and get a certain type as a result, this is only based on your preferences and how you use these processes. Now, whether there is a significant difference between, say, the INFP and the ESTJ is a relative question. The same applies to all other differences, like the difference between a carrot and Mahatma Gandhi. Just to state an obvious fact, every person has a brain, feelings, hormones, a nervous system, a set of beliefs and values, and so on. What the 16 personality test does is basically assigning personality categories to people. Now, these categories do not objectively exist, they are just a model. I think it's important to state that. Freud's concepts like ego and superego are also models. The other word for model in this case is a theoretical construct. In a way, the 16 personalities theory appeals to people's desire to be understood and to belong. It is designed to be consumed by a very wide audience, including young people who are still trying to figure out who they are. But it also caters to certain narcissistic needs. An extreme example of what I mean are those Buzzfeed quizzes like what type of salad are you, or which Lady Gaga hairstyle is your spirit animal. Cognitive functions as a model go deeper and are more neutral. This model allows you to take a step back from those addictive stereotypes and try to understand the mechanism and its individual parts. Although none of this is science, strictly speaking, the MBTI is often being criticized for being outdated and not taking into account certain psychological aspects like neuroticism. The Big Five test is supposed to be more accurate, but the core premise is always the same. It's all about finding differences in order to make a statement about the identity. So while the Big Five tries to adhere to some quantitative scientific standards, it nevertheless operates with some preset concepts like agreeableness. Somebody must have said, it's a good idea to include this and this trait, let's do it. This is all based on the so-called trait theory from psychology. Now I'm gonna stop right there. I think it would be no fun for me to invalidate the MBTI and the 16 personalities model for the purpose of this channel. I hope you're still following me. Let me know if you have questions. If you want to have a complete picture of your personality, I'd recommend you take several different personality tests and read about cognitive functions. Try to look at how you make decisions and how you prefer to learn about the world. I'm gonna leave a few links in the description if you want to read about it. Let's get back to the background of this. It all started with Carl Jung. but other people subsequently developed his theories further. So I should perhaps also mention the names John Beebe and Linda Berens. Linda Berens, for example, says in one of her videos that we are born whole and that we are also conceived whole, and as we grow, things differentiate. But she also says that this whole dichotomy thinking is a very Western thing to do. And yes, dichotomies can be useful, but the deeper you go, the more complex each dimension becomes. If you're new to MBTI, this table might look somewhat complicated to you. However, all it says is that all MBTI types use the same set of functions but in different order. The 16 types emerge from the different combinations. Here is a translation of what the letters mean. Again, this is only in case you are completely new to this topic. Thankfully, there are just 8 functions. They can be broken down to 4 processes, which are sensing, thinking, intuition, and feeling. The second letter, E or I, means extroverted or introverted and describes the way the process operates. Is it inwardly or outwardly focused? Sensing and intuition are perceiving functions which are parts of learning processes and describe how you take in information, while thinking and feeling are judging functions and are involved in decision-making processes. Here's an interesting way to think about it. Imagine a football team consisting of 8 players. There are 4 players in the front and 4 invisible players in the back. Actually, never mind, this metaphor will go too far for the purpose of this video. Also, let's not forget that there is a difference between your identity and your specific behavior and mode of operation at any given time. It is possible that an introvert will enjoy a party and that an extreme extrovert will want to retreat and have a quiet time once in a while. Neither fixed concepts like identity nor temporary states like mood are a yes or no thing. They are more of a spectrum. In this second part of the video, we are dealing with the order of the cognitive functions as well as their role within a personality. First of all, why do the functions have such weird names like witch or hero? Well, the names actually go back to the so-called archetypes, which are more or less abstract behavior or attitude patterns. They are based on iconic collective images of entities that everyone knows and recognizes. Carl Jung was really occupied with this topic. But if you want to read something specifically about cognitive functions, take a look at this book, Psychological Types. Shadow functions, the last 4 on this list, are sound kind of negative or evil, but in reality they are at the same time good and bad and can promote personal development if they are addressed properly. The first 4 functions are the ones that feel like part of us, while the second 4 functions feel like something else, and we use them when we are out of our element, more or less. Sometimes it can also feel like we are victims of our shadow functions. Shadow functions get activated when the first 4 functions fail to do their job. This happens when a person is very overwhelmed or under a significant stress. This stress can be long-term psychological stress, like maybe a crisis of some sort, or it can be a major challenge, like writing a final thesis. The word shadow kind of describes that there is something hidden in the dark. Okay, let's start with the first function, which is also called the hero. It is the function that is most accessible and easy to use. In my case, for example, it's extroverted intuition, which is why I find it easy to come up with ideas. And then we have the second function, which is also kind of present in the personality. It is balancing the first function, whatever it is, in terms of extroversion and judgment. In a way, it feeds the first function. That is why it's often called a parent. If the first function is extroverted, the second function will be introverted, and if the first function is judging, the second one will be perceiving. The third function is a child, and it develops a little bit later in life. It's playful and loves to explore. It's less developed than the first 2 functions, and this is why it operates like a child. And then we have the fourth function. It's called anima or animus. It appears to be the opposite of what you think you are. Carl Jung described it as the male part in a woman and the female part in the man. Now, this alone is a subject that is complex enough for a separate video. In one of the next videos, I will probably follow up with a specific example. I will probably take the INFJ type to explain their preferred and shadow functions. Okay, now on to the shadow functions. So if your first preferred function is the hero, the first shadow function is more like an anti-hero. It can question the agenda that your dominant function has set, or its strategy. As with all shadow functions, you can sometimes experience it in other people as something negative or confusing. The second shadow function is more of a critical parent, and it can confront you with the shortcomings or failures. No, this will need more explanation, but I think it's better if I do it using a specific example. Next on the list is the trickster. This is kind of a curious phenomenon, which I will also explain in more detail in one of the next videos, but basically it's a manipulative child that can create chaos or set traps. And finally, there is the demon. This is the function that is the most different from your first function. So whoever will use this as their dominant function will be rather irritating to you. If you're new to this topic, make sure to look up your functions and think about them. Think about how you go about things. Think about how you make decisions. I think I said the word function like 500 times in this video, but I had to do it. Please make sure to subscribe and also click the like button. It greatly supports this channel. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments and I will try to get back to all of them. I know this video has been a little bit all over the place, but this topic is just so enormous. Hope to see you in one of my next videos. Have a great day, take care, and bye bye.